Hey everybody, before we jump into the video, I want to give everybody just kind of a breakdown of you're going to see some stuff if you watched other brewing videos. It's different. In this video, I've been researching and talking about some additional different techniques. The first thing I'm going to talk about is, or the first thing you may notice is when we do the boil, we're only boiling hops. There's no extract in the boil at that point. I'm doing what's called a late addition boil for the extract. You get more control and you get better extraction both for aroma and bitterness if the gravity of your boil is, well, simply put in non-technical terms, you get better extraction from the hops if you just make tea from the hops in the beginning and then add your extract and add your other stuff. The sugar affects the gravity. The sugar in the extract affects the gravity, and you don't extract nearly as much as you want. Now, in the bitterness stuff, I don't want to extract a whole lot, but I do want to extract as much as I can from the aroma hops addition. So I'm using a late extra or a late addition, and that's what it's called after you do the boil. If you do the boil and then you add the extract at the end, it's called a late addition. And the software I've got that I'm working on putting a video up for you guys as a quick tutorial will calculate all this stuff for you in terms of, for bitterness, that's IBUs, is the International Bitterness Unit. You time all this stuff out with the volume of water and your temperature and the alpha level in your hops, and you put all this stuff into the program, and it tells you based on how long you put your boil at what your IBU level is going to be, so you can control that. So you just play around with the boil duration, and so you get the IBU level you want. So you won't see me add the extract for this batch until after I've done most of the boil. I'll add it at the last 10 minutes of this boil. Then the other thing you're going to see that's kind of weird is I've taken some of my water, my reserved water, that I'm going to use in this batch, and I've frozen it. Well, it turned out to not be nearly as frozen as I wanted it to be. But I sanitized a container and put it in my deep freeze and covered so it wouldn't absorb any other flavors or anything like that. I put it in my deep freeze so that I would have something after the boil that's really, really cold to add to the batch that was part of my original recipe anyway, because it's just reserved water, to help bring that temperature down. It still took a lot longer to bring that temperature down than I wanted it to be. So in the future, I'm going to make sure that the ice block I'm freezing out of my reserved water is completely and totally frozen. And I was talking to a culinary friend of mine, Josh, you see him in other videos. He was telling me a couple of other tricks they use in class to get control of their temperature. I just want to be able to lower that temperature without having to resort to specialty equipment. There's nothing allowed in the kitchen that's a unitasker sort of Alton Brown thing. So I'm trying to avoid getting a wort chiller. And I think I've got a really good, creative, easy solution for this. So got the ice block thing going on in the video. You'll see that. Now, I got in trouble with my last batch, the Oh My God Braggot that you guys saw me make. I used ice because I watched Alton Brown's brewing episode, and he told me about using ice to lower the temperature of your batch. I did that, but my mistake was I used tap water to make the ice, and I didn't really have a whole lot of, I didn't think about well, I did. I just assumed that since the wort was already almost at boiling, that it would sanitize anything that was in the batch, and that wasn't the case. So I ended up in my last batch with a really nasty infection that tasted like I brewed the batch with about 1.5 pounds of palm olive or Dawn or dish detergent of some kind. It was really horrible, overpowering. And traditionally I don't use soap on almost anything I brew with, unless it's another kitchen thing and that I cook with also. And I also don't, or I also make sure I really, really rinse anything that's going to go into this batch. So I'm really conscious of soap stuff. So it wasn't actual soap. It was an infection that just gave the flavor of really, really intense soap. First time I've ever had a batch infected, and that was the only thing I did differently, was use tap water ice. So from now on, if I use the ice method, I'm going to use ice from a controlled source like Ozarka, and I'm going to freeze it in a sanitized container so we avoid that solution. That's what I did in this video. I have a couple other ideas we'll get into in other videos, so you'll see that. I also have some new brewing equipment that I'm going to use in this video. I have a nice 5-gallon stainless steel brew kettle that makes my brewing a lot easier, simply because I can brew more at a time. I'm not brewing at such a concentration. You can brew at a concentration, and the BeerSmith software will help you do that by figuring out the volume you're brewing at and all that fun stuff. But it is easier to brew in bigger batches. So got that. Then I've also got a nice timer with a temperature probe that just attaches to the kettle now. That makes brewing a whole heck of a lot easier. This is also a new recipe. I've done a couple of wheat beers in the past, and I've had a lot of really good success with wheat beers. This is a dark wheat ale. It's a Dunkelweisen. It's my first attempt at this. We're really excited about it. My wife she's getting into it now that we've joined this home brewing club, and she sees other women are really into the whole home brewing thing. So, yeah, I think that's it. That's the only thing you're going to see in this video that you might raise an eyebrow at. Just new brewing techniques I've been researching, I've been learning about, just to broaden my own horizons. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. I'm going to do another update video on some other stuff. This, you guys remember this bottle? This is the stevia extract I made after I reduced it. I actually, I didn't reduce it in the bottle. It was just faster. I pulled down a pan and I reduced it over low heat. So it pulled a lot of the water out and all of the alcohol out. And now this stuff is, woo, really, really potent. So yeah, this would last us forever. And if you don't have access, I can't imagine you wouldn't have access to a bottle like this, like rice wine vinegar or any control flow bottle in your supermarket. You can also use, this is my little container I used for my White Labs yeast. I like to reuse these, and they're great for tinctures. Now, the only downside, I didn't go over this in the tincture video, to using this is this stuff can be really sensitive to light over time. So I always keep this stuff in the cabinet when I'm not actually using it, just so it doesn't get exposure to light. Anything you can do to minimize exposure to any stimuli to this stuff is outstanding. So as soon as I'm done with the video, it's going to go in there and we're good to go. I think that's it. You guys enjoy the rest of the video. Please, as always, leave comments. Let me know what you think of the video, and I am going to post the entire recipe and a link to where to get the BeerXML download for this recipe in the more information for the video. Feel free to go pick it up and let me know what you think. All right.
Okay, folks, we're here doing a dark wheat beer, a Dunkelweisen. This is going to be the first time I've used my new 5-gallon stainless steel brew kettle. And you'll notice we have a little temperature probe coming out there. And that's going up to you can't really see the numbers on there. It's going up to my timer / thermometer. It's the Alton Brown style setup. I'm a big fan of Alton Brown, and this seems to lend itself pretty well to home brewing. So we're doing a 3.5 to 4 gallon boil to make a 5 gallon batch. We're going to do hops in 2 additions. We're going to do, originally I'd planned for an hour, a 60-minute boil, but when I got to looking at the alpha on the Hallertauer hops, don't know if you're going to be able to see that, the alpha is 3.2. The last batch of Hallertauer hops I got, the alpha was 2.5. So I had to adjust the boil temperature, or adjust the boil duration to 30 minutes to start. If we do a 30-minute boil for the pellet, the 3.2, and then a 10-minute boil for the leaf hops for Aroma, that has an alpha of 3.8. According to Beersmith, I should come out between, well, right at 11.4 IBUs. I don't know how accurate that is, but it should be fairly close. So right now, I've just got everything cleaned and sanitized, and we're trying to bring the water up to a boil to start the hops. For this batch, I'm going to do all of my extract is going to be late addition. So I'm going to do the boil with just water and hops for this batch. I was reading about this technique earlier. So to complement our recipe, our base is going to be 2 canisters, 3.3 pounds each of Briess Bavarian wheat. I honestly cannot say enough good stuff about this extract. From now on, I think all of my wheat beers are going to be from this extract. Our local homebrew shop has a Canadian bulk wheat extract that just doesn't compare to this stuff at all. This is hands down the best wheat extract I've found, and if I find something better, trust me, I'll switch, but this is really, really, really good stuff. So we're doing 2 canisters of 3.3 pounds each of that, plus, let me open this, 1 pound, because it's going to be a Dunkelweisen, if I can get it off here with one hand, there we go, 1 pound of dark extract, and I have some grains, a pound of, let me jump over here, it's on our freezer. I have a pound of, I believe in this bag, yeah, flaked wheat for body and head retention, and we've got, what, half a pound of caramel in the other one. So we're going to steep that after we finish our boil, and I'll put the directions and all that fun stuff and the whole recipe. Hell, I might even link up the BeerXML recipe so you guys can open it with Beersmith or any other BeerXML compliant editor and see exactly what we're making here. So we're just waiting for the water to come up to temperature so we can start our boil, and we'll come back as soon as it's ready. Okay, here we are at 212. You can't really see it all that well, but it's already a couple of minutes into the boil. I've already added the hops, so you can see it bubbling away in there. And I'm just waiting for the timer to count down to 0. That'll be 20 minutes. I'm going to add the second addition of hops and all the extract. So we'll be back momentarily. Okay, we've got everything lined out. We're 20 minutes into the boil, and we're going to add the extract as a late addition extract. We've got 6.66 pounds of Briess Bavarian extract that I was talking about earlier. I've heated that up in the microwave a little bit just to make it flow a little bit more, and we've got a pound of dark extract, and we're going to add our hops that's sitting over there as the very end. I've got the spatula over there to facilitate scrapage and canister of sanitizer. So my lovely wife is going to scrape all that stuff out. Make sure you sanitize pull that off. There you go. Spatula, sanitize spatula. Then kind of fling the extra off. There you go. So you can see that it's a nice rolling green Shrek colored boil. And this is going to flow very nicely. because it's all heated. We're going to get as much of that as possible. I cannot describe to you how good this smells. It is awesome. It's not really completely necessary to, this extract has already been boiled once, but just for sanitary reasons, we're going to give it another 10-minute boil and do 10 minutes with the leaf hops just for aroma and flavor. Don't worry about getting every last little hunk of that. That's good. Okay. Stir it up off the bottom. I smell it burning already. Okay. I'm going to turn that down, the heat down, just while we're doing this. Go. That's good. And let's get the rest of the dark extract. I don't know the origin of this dark extract. I don't think it's Briess. It's whatever our local brew shop has on hand as their bulk dark. Okay. And we'll get. I didn't have time to heat this one up, so you're going to have to actually scrape this one. Got it. Just scrape it out. You don't have to do it just for the camera. That is the vast majority of it. We're good to go. Give it a stir to get all that syrup off the bottom. You notice I started the water boil a little bit lower level so that I was trying to account for the fact that we were going to be adding extract here. So, alright, pop open that last thing of hops, throw it in there, and we will crank the heat back up. I'm going to do that real quick. It's another ounce of leaf hops. Look on the more info for the full recipe breakdown. There you go. I'm a big fan of the whole leaf hops for aroma steps, so you don't even have to stir that in. Just put the lid on it and we're good to go. Okay, as you can see from the thermometer, it is at, well, maybe see, it's at 197. We've lost a little bit of thermal energy from turning it off. While we add that, we're going to bring it back up, do another 10-minute boil, and we're good to go. Okay, so our boil is completely finished, and now we are sitting at 210 degrees. You guys can't see that, but here is my secret weapon. I have some ice water that I have frozen out of my Ozarka container previously in a sanitized container. So rather than wait for this concoction to get down to temperature, I'm going to add this water in batches until we get the appropriate temperature. There we go. I'm going to give this a stir. That's going to bring the temp down. And we're down to 189. Need to be down to 155, so I'm going to add just a bit more ice. And give it just a second. Okay, I'm going to give this a few more minutes to cool down to 155, and then we're going to throw in our additional grains. Okay, here we go. I actually broke out a couple of ice trays and set the pot on it to help get the temperature down. We're sitting right at 155 to 160, so I'm going to put in the steeping grains. We have the half a pound of caramel wheat. Putting right in. Notice I'm not putting those in a bag, just putting them right in, because we're going to strain these out in just a bit. And then I have a full pound of flaked wheat. There we go. Now that I made a mess all over the stove. Going to give this just a little bit of a stir, and then I'm going to cover, and we're going to hold at 155 to 160 for 40 minutes. Going to strain it and then put it in the fermenter. Okay, so we've done our steeping step for the grains. Now I've got a little bit of cold water from the rest of my Ozarka jug in the bottom just to provide some thermal insulation. I've got a colander in the bucket, and on top I've got a strainer so that we can strain out all the grains and everything else that we're about to add. So I'm going to grab this and very carefully pour it in. Ooh, it smells really good. Give that a second to strain down. Oh, it's okay. That is why you use a really big bag. Okay. And get every last little bit of that I can. Okay. Move that back over. I'm going to top off with the rest of our water. And I need to get a little bit of water to top that back up to 5. Can you bring me another 5-gallon, babe? We lost quite a bit in our boil, so we're going to bring it back up to 5. This you can actually use for a compost if you're into that sort of thing. Makes wonderful compost. Thank you. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to wait for that to cool down to about 70 degrees, and then I'm going to pitch the yeast. I'm going to put that on until it cools down, probably give it an hour or so, and then we're good to go. Okay, our batch is now down to the temperature, and I've got my, it's my current favorite wheat yeast is the White Labs 380 Hefeweizen 4 ale yeast. I've got it all shaken up, taking my reading. My batch is right down to 70. So I'm just going to pitch this in. And now, just going to seal it up, give it 10 to 14 days, and we're good to go.